Okay, it's 3 o'clock, so we'll open the March 18th, 2019 Board of Directors meeting of Sandy Pines. Welcome, everybody. Don is on the phone as the chairman, but being remote, he asked me if I would run the meeting, and I said that's no problem. So here we are. So I'll go through the agenda, and we'll start with prayer, and Dennis is going to do that for us.
Here we pray. Oh, Lord, our Father, as we come to you this day, we thank you for all the blessings you have given to us. Thank you for bringing us safely through this winter season, and as this board of directors begin our new season at Sandy Pines, we ask for guidance and wisdom as we make these decisions for the benefit of all. We ask this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
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 We'll move to item number 3. Roll call, please.
Hey, Rick, are we recording? Normally for remote users, we see a record button. I'm not seeing that. Josh, am I looking in the wrong location? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
What was the question? Are we recording?
I see a red button in the upper left corner.
Oh, upper left-hand corner. Thanks, everyone. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
We good? Okay. This is kind of trial and error, so yeah, just kind of, if you talk, let it make sure we know who's speaking, because all of us can't see who's talking. We don't all have computers in front of us, so we just want to make sure we document.
And that will be very helpful for the meeting minutes for approval of motions.
Correct.
A lot of times if I'm looking down, I can't catch who.
So we'll just make sure it's very obvious who's doing the talking. This is Rick. So Kim, we'll start with roll call, please.
All right. Ellen Carpenter? Here. Rick Day?
Here.
Brian Elling?
Sure.
Jenny Hager? Here. Jim Huck?
Here.
Kelly Johnson?
Here.
Dennis King?
Here.
Chad Ostrom?
Here.
Don Dudley?
Here.
All right, all present.
Great. We'll move to item number 4. Everyone should have the December 15th meeting minutes. And we've had the opportunity to review them. Is there any corrections or anything that needs to be discussed on those other than the way they are presented? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve the minutes as presented. So moved.
Second.
Dennis moved, and Jim?
Yeah.
Seconded. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed the same? Motion carries. Item number 5 is, we got a whole slew of financial reports, and I think we'll just, we'll have Jenny and Kimberly kind of run down through them, and then we can, each month for each Sandy Pines Wilderness Trail as well as Lake Monterey Golf Course, and then we will address those as we go along. So I'll turn it over to Jen.
Okay. So we are doing November, December, and January. This is Jenny speaking. Kimberly noted some items to take a look at under the highlights. I'm looking at November, December right now. She noted that the cash for Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails as of December, the end of the calendar year, is $88,000, higher than the prior year. There's a significant decline in the other receivables account, and that is related to a true-up in the final amount to be received from the condo association. The overall net income as of December is up $190,000. The Schwab investment income has picked up again as of December. I'm sure probably even better in January. Utilities at the retail center is higher in the expense account due to off-season construction and use of utilities within that building. And the sales by Sandy Pines and the commission income is up $20,000 in December. So that's a good thing too. Does anybody have any other questions on the, Sandy Pines financial statements for, it's kind of November and December? Do we want to, we probably should do one at a time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want to add anything else to that?
No, I think that's it, and expanding, kind of going through January, there weren't any other notes to make either for January. The same note is, it's the same note, but just expanding that we continue to see extra expenses in that utility line, but it's supported and expected with all the, work that's going on at retail, because that building is usually completely shut down in the off season, so we expect that, but nothing of concern, so.
Okay, anybody, present or on the phone have any, questions or comments about the November 2018 financial report for Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve them as presented.
So moved.
Ellen, supported by Dennis. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We'll move on to November 2018 Lake Monterey Golf Course.
Okay, so the notes that, regarding the Lake Monterey Golf Course, cash as of December 2018 is approximately $28,000 higher than the prior year. The overall net income as of December 2018 is down just under $10,000. Overall, there are not many notes to mention for the golf course since the activity is quieter this time of the year.
Kimberly, anything to add? Okay, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve as presented.
So moved, Jim.
Jim, supported by Ellen. All in favor signify by aye.
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 The same. Motion carries. We'll move on to December 2018 financial for Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails.
Again, the comments that I had discussed before were kind of combining November and December, so I don't really have anything else
Okay.
at this time for December.
Any other comments or discussion?
Motion to accept, Kelly.
Okay.
Second.
So been moved by Kelly, supported by Ellen, to approve the December 2018 financial for Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails as presented. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We'll move on to December 2018 Lake Monterey Golf Club.
Yeah, again,
Same
I don't have anything else to add.
There isn't much activity,
Yes.
from there, so,
Okay.
nothing more than was already mentioned.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, seek a motion to approve as presented.
Don make the motion.
Jim will second.
Second by Ellen.
Okay, Don and Jim was the second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. That brings us to January 2019 Sandy Pines Wilderness Trail. And Jenny.
Let's see, the notes again are, the 2018 laundry income is quite a bit higher than the 2019, which is specifically related to the 2017 large laundry income check not being received until well into 2018. So that's what made 2018 higher. January 2019 laundry income is an accurate number for the fiscal year. The retail utilities expense is quite a bit higher as of January. Again, this is related to the renovations occurring at the retail center during the off-season, when in normal years there's no occupancy.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess the only other comment is with cash. There's, a small increase again in cash in January, which is, a good sign too with, recouping the expenditures that were used last year, that were expended through the FEMA building, so. Nice to see that being recouped.
And the Schwab investment account is up again.
Headed the right direction
Yes.
for a change.
Yes,
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for those on the phone?
No comment.
Okay, hearing none, seek a motion to approve the January 2019 financial for Sandy Pines as presented.
So move. Kelly.
Second. Ellen.
Moved in by Kelly, seconded by Ellen. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, the same? Motion carries. Hang with us, we're on the last one. Move to approve the January 2019 financial for Lake Monterey Golf Course, and probably still not a ton of activity in January.
correct. Nothing new there.
Any questions or comments, concerns? Motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Jenny moved, is there support? Seconded by Dennis, all in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, the same? Motion carried. All right. Now we can get on to item number 6, public safety update, Public Safety Director, Keith.
Thank you. I have a couple of documents for each of you here so that you can kind of follow along, and then I can respond to any questions that you may have. This document here, if you wouldn't mind, if you're interested in it, what that is it's a record of training that's taken place. You can browse through that, just to give you an idea on some of the areas that we're concentrating on and the amount of training that's being performed.
For those of you that are attending remotely, we'll put copies of this, the agenda, and any other documentation at the meeting here. We'll put them in your mailbox.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
The first item that you see on the group of papers that's paper clipped together is a memo that was posted on March 4th. This is something that's been in the process for probably 6 months or so. And that's a posting for the Deputy Director of Security Services. We did post that position on March the 4th. Attached, or the next page after that memo, is a job description along with qualifications and requirements. The deadline for this posting was March the 15th, and I'm happy to say that as of the 15th, a selection was made, and it's this gentleman sitting next to me that we brought in, so that if you folks are not familiar with Chris Munley, this is Chris Munley, and I'm also proud to say that not only does Chris meet these qualifications, he exceeds these qualifications. And I feel that he'll do an outstanding job in this position, and we'll have an opportunity to interact with you folks as well. The last page that you have attached to that is a training summary report. I was asked to kind of update the board as to where are you at with training, and provide an update to the board on how much training has been completed and on what topics and so forth. So that page that you have that says training summary report, the initial section there where it says initial employee training, that segment right there is training that everybody gets when they're hired. They go through those following 8 items at a minimum of training. Some of that's online, some of that's in the field, and again, that applies to everybody regardless of whether they're going to be utilized only in the office or they're going to be utilized as both or as a patrol type person. The next group that you see there is advanced training, and those topics, I'll just kind of quickly run through those. SVC, as we call it, or surviving verbal conflict and de-escalation, that we combine that with the initial requirement, which is a 2-hour course. This is something that we're really big believers in, and it's something that every person at our office will ultimately be put through. it's just a matter of trying to work 3 shifts and get everybody through this training. It's phenomenal training, and it really changes how we do business. And it's applicable to whether people are acting in any type of rule enforcement capacity in the field, or they're dealing with people at that front desk when they come in and they're processing member requests. As of right now, there's been 3 people, Chris is one of them, that have now, this was just wrapped up on, was it Friday? Where the first 3 people have gone through this entire course, which is a 16-hour course. And from here, again, that's a continuing thing, because my intention is to put everybody on my staff through that training. Additionally, there's been talk with some of Josh's people and with Josh. There's a different version of this that I also teach that's more geared towards civilians. Also a phenomenal course. And again, we're big believers in it. It's the best de-escalation or verbal conflict training that I've ever had access to. It kind of takes off where verbal judo started and goes well beyond that. Item number 2 is basics of pistol shooting. I've had multiple people complete that. That's an 8-hour course. Personal protection in the home training, that is also an 8-hour course, and that's something that'll be starting this month that we'll be putting people through. Basics of pistol shooting and the personal protection in the home are prerequisites to item number 4, which can be thought of as an intermediate course. That's personal protection outside the home. We now have our own instructor on staff. All that training will be done in-house. That consists roughly of about a 9-hour training, and that again, you could look at that as an intermediate course. Item number 5 is personal protection outside the home. That's the advanced segment. That's a 5-hour course, and everything that you see above that is a prerequisite for that. Standardized field sobriety testing. This is something that took place earlier this year. I'm happy to say that the majority of our full-time people have now had the benefit of that. I didn't hear that. Was there?
No, I think it's just background.
We refer to this as SFST. So this is DOT standardized training, and what the purpose of the training is to standardize field sobriety tests. And the tests that SFST consists of are number 1, horizontal gaze and stagnance test, which is called HGN. When this business came out, it truly revolutionized the way that people were enforcing. Back then it was called DUI, now it's called OWI. And the biggest thing with the HGN is it is completely not subjective. You cannot influence this test. It's a test that you perform on the eyes, and it's an involuntary reaction of the eyes to somebody who's consumed alcohol. And then there's a walk and turn test, there's a raised leg and count test, and then there's optional tests. So the majority of the full-time staff have been trained in SFST, and as great of a place as their park is, I'd be lying to you to say that we don't deal with alcohol issues in the park. We certainly do, and we're never going to have a time where we don't deal with alcohol issues, and that's just the facts. Item number 7 is preliminary breath test training. The same staff that went through SFST have also completed preliminary breath test training, and we have multiple of those units. We went with a fuel cell type device, which we did a bunch of research on, and I guess the difference between the devices that we're using and a lot of the other devices that you'll see in the state of Michigan are the others have to be calibrated on a certain time. And the fuel cell technology is new, fairly new. It's DOT approved. There's multiple military and federal agencies that are using it. And the nice thing with these things, there is no calibration. They work off a fuel cell, they self-calibrate, and when those fuel cells expire, you simply replace the fuel cell. So they take away some of the issues they have with the calibration, and you also with the calibration, if they're not being calibrated, not our fuel cell ones, but the other ones, you run into issues potentially in say a criminal case, or maybe even in an arbitration where somebody says, I want to see your calibration records, and well, you were one day over. We don't have these issues with these. We have had an opportunity to use them. And matter of fact, we had a recent case where we use them in conjunction with an alcohol sensor. And, they're exactly the same results, which is kind of interesting to see. And you guys are welcome to stop by if you ever want to see one of these things where, the training is almost, you could go through it, we could go through with you guys in 10 minutes and say, here's the device, and you turn it on, they self-check, they tell the person when to blow, they analyze the quantity of air that's provided. They're really easy to use, and they're accurate. So, and that definitely improves our capabilities to investigate any kind of alcohol-related incidents or things along those lines. Item number 8 is chemical aerosol restraint training. Majority of full-time people have been through there. And when I say chemical aerosol restraint team, we're talking about OC spray. It's a chemical irritant. It is a non-lethal item that falls towards the bottom of the ladder in a use of force situation. It's also typically effective on aggressive animals such as dogs or so forth. So that training has been completed for most of the staff. Number 9 is handcuffing and pressure points and control tactics, also known as PPCT. Majority of the staff has been through that, and that is exactly what it says. It's handcuffing techniques and then ways to not only defend yourself, but to protect yourself in the event of a close quarters attack that does not go high up the use of force ladder. Number 10 is conducted energy weapon training. We have those devices. The training I have arranged, not for a specific date yet, but that training will also be taking place. The weapons brave alert author training, Steve and I had the opportunity to go to that. All of you are familiar with the RAVE system, and it was an opportunity for Steve and I to get more educated in the RAVE system. Active shooter training, there's a number of team members that have gone through some additional levels of active shooter training. Something that I look to do in the future is I'd like to have 1 or even 2 people that are on staff. ALICE is one of the things that we're looking at. ALICE is fairly well thought of with respect to schools and businesses and so forth. And you have 1 or 2 people on staff that are actually instructors in this. And then it gives us the ability to, whether it's the Chapel Grove, folks at this building, you need to have a plan. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, then you can plan to fail. And any level of training that's done in the event that one of these, yes, unlikely, but not completely improbable events were to take place, any training is going to result in the saving of lives. So Steve and I have also had an opportunity to go through an OSHA seminar on that, and just one kind of small thing I'll share with you, what they're finding in analyzing these incidents is, number 1, these incidents are typically, the vast majority of them are over in 3 minutes. So to put that into perspective, the national accepted response time for emergency services is 8. And as you folks are well aware, we do not fall anywhere near 8 minutes. The unfortunate truth is if we were ever on the receiving end of an event like this, whatever happens and whatever loss of life happens will happen long before there's any response by law enforcement. That's just the facts. The other thing that they found is that initially you'll hear 3 different approaches to active shooter scenarios: take flight, take cover, or take action. And what the statistics are starting to bear out is that survivability increases more with the take action approach than it does with either of the other 2. So it's kind of a sobering thing to think about, but there's actually some places that are advocating school children take aggressive action and that they keep projectiles around them because those types of scenarios are typically ending with less loss of life than either take flight or take cover. Crisis intervention team training, that is a mental health type training. And we've had a number of staff that had an opportunity to go through some of that. Range safety officer training, we have our own range safety officer on staff. Certified firearm safety and home instructor training, that's completed. Certified pistol instructor training, that's completed. Certified personal protection in the home instructor training, complete. Certified personal protection outside the home, basic, complete. advanced version of that complete. And then 20 SVC stands for, that's related to item number 1, that's the instructor version of that, surviving verbal conflict, de-escalation instructor training, that's complete. And some other miscellaneous topics that, and training topics that staff have had additional training on, including crowd control, communication skills, narcotics enforcement, patrol tactics, report writing, constitutional law, CPR, first aid, and AED. As far as where we're at with this, again, the first group is going all the way through the SVC training, and next we'll move on to the PPITH and then the PPOTH basic, PPOTH advanced. But there's a huge emphasis that's being placed on training here. I'm a huge believer in it. I see the benefits with the staff immediately, and kind of my view with it is the more training that I can provide to the staff, the more training that can be provided to the staff, the more professional service that they can provide to the members. Does anybody have any questions over any of the things that we just went over? I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions, anybody on the phone? I'll start not with a question, but more of a comment. I think it's, first I'd like to thank you and your team for, on behalf of the board, for raising the bar, the expectation. As a board, we have a high expectation that you guys bring a lot more to the table and act more professional at your level, not person, but bring more professionalism to the department, which is obviously you've done. And we have high expectations as a board, but we want to make sure you have the tools and the ability to be able to carry out your jobs and meet the expectations that we have. And I think you guys are meeting that and exceeding and going beyond that and headed, in places that we never would have dreamed of before. And I personally, like I said, on behalf of the board, would like to thank you for your efforts. And like I said, we do have high expectations, but you guys are meeting them and pushing on. So, and I think that Gene needs to be commended for giving you guys the tools and the ability. A lot of times stuff isn't enjoyable to talk about, but it's been brought out, and this board is very supportive of your efforts. And I think you'll see that in the future, that we do support what you do, and hopefully we can help you keep doing it better, even though we're not with you every day. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'll be very happy to pass that along to my staff, because that's where that credit's got to go. The benefit of having good professional people that have a strong interest in the park and its overall welfare, and those kind of people. Chris is an example here. Chris has shown his dedication to the members in here, and it's something that we stress with all new employees, that we're successful out here if and when we build rapport with the members, and the members understand that we are not here as overseers. We're not looking over your shoulder to drop violations on you. We are truly here to serve you. Is enforcement a part of that? Yes, it is. But it's not the main portion. So as long as me and the other employees, we keep that kind of at the forefront of our mission, then I see nothing but continued success and more relationship building with the members. And I thank you for your comments. While we're talking just quickly about staff, I'll just give you a quick update on where we're at with staffing. Full-time people in full. Chris was previously part-time. He moved into full-time recently. And my other open spot was on third shift. And that was a result of one of my third shift people going back for some type of training that the military was providing. That was Sean Brunzo, if any of you knew him. We've since hired a guy named Zach Bench, and he is in his last portion of field training now. And he just recently graduated from Aquinas College with a bachelor's degree in communications. He has experience working for their safety team over there at the campus. And if you guys listen to WGRD, he's also on free beer and hot wings in the morning. That was his other job. He says, I asked him what his role on there was, and he said he does two things. He edits some audio, and he serves as the butt of the jokes. So, a very personal guy, very likable guy, and so far he's fitting in real well here. The only gap that I have with being full-time and part-time is one part-time opening and I just made a verbal offer to a young lady who's in her 4th year of criminal justice program in Grand Valley, Zealand resident. She interviewed well, and everything came out well. She accepted my offer, so I anticipate her starting here probably within a week. Her name is Tiffany Brower, and another person that I think will be a good addition to the team. That leaves the seasonal people, and it appears I may get two back from last year, and those 2 were both phenomenal. Well, one of them's been here multiple seasons, and the other one last year was the first season, but they're phenomenal employees. It looks like I'll probably get those back, which is good, and that'll leave me with about three seasonal positions to fill. So a little bit to do yet, but overall going pretty well.
Great, thank you. Gene, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would. A couple things that we want to update you on is the PA 330, and where we are with that. Keith and I and Steve DeArmond, Jim Pitch met with Sheriff Baker and Under Sheriff Larson in February. I think we had a pretty good meeting. It appears as though Sheriff Baker and Under Sheriff Larson are somewhat unfamiliar with PA 330. So they asked for some time to do some research on it. And then we hope to get back together with them again, along with Brian that made the presentation to you guys of what his research was of the data part. Hope to get him involved with that next meeting so that we can give them a little more in-depth of what he sees at Sandy Pines and why he recommended PA 330. I don't think there's a commitment one way or the other right now with Sheriff Baker, but we'll need him. So we want to provide him with as much information as we can that will help to support his decision in a positive way, being a supporter of Sandy Pines and the PA 330. A lot of the training that Keith has gone through is training that we would need to go through with PA 330, and there'll be some additional training that is not available to us at this point until we are certified to be able to do a PA 330 program. So we're continuing on that path. I think it's progressing about at the pace we thought it would progress at this point. We've got, as you know, a couple of meetings set up in May for informational meetings for the membership, so we're looking forward to having those. And then to back up a little bit from Keith's introduction of Chris, in the bigger picture, one of the things we saw about 7 years ago was that there was no redundancy. There's no transition in some departments. So, and consequently, the 3 major departments were member service, maintenance, and security. And now with this hire, we've completed those 3. So we have support staff in the event that the manager is out or the director of that department is out, or if something happens to the director or manager, we've got somebody to step into that place. And I feel much better with that kind of redundancy. And so I welcome Chris on a number of levels, but I'm really pleased that we're making progress in each department that really needs that. So I thank you both for that.
Thank you.
That's all I got on this subject, yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anyone on the phone or anyone here? If not, we'll move on.
One last item, and then I'll pass it back over to Dean. As a result of some of the things that we're looking at doing, we also did a pretty extensive document review. And one of the areas that we felt we needed to look at was having, in addition to our incident reports, we needed to have a specific use of force form. I'm sure Dennis is familiar with these. It's what I think probably almost every department has gone to as a separate documentation procedure for documenting any use of force. And Chris has access to templates through his work as a consultant and so forth. And thanks to him, we were able to design something that's specific, but very comprehensive. And Gene is in possession of that document. And having said that, I'll turn it over to Gene.
Sure. Yeah, you were each sent a copy of the operational, it's security operation emergency plan. Hope you had a chance to look at that. Basically, the document we had previously was the same document with the exception of the firearm. There was only pages that provided space for that policy. What we did is got a hold of our legal counsel that drew up this policy in the first place, made him familiar with PA 330, gave him the time to look at that. Wanted to make sure that this fit into anything we did with PA 330. He came back with a couple of minor changes in the first part, but with the firearms there were some significant changes. So that is pretty much all new. And so if you had a chance to look at that, if you got any questions on that, please feel free to ask them. But this document, I am asking the board to have a motion to support this document and the insertion of this document to replace the old one.
Okay, and so as far as they're kind of all rolling together, but as far as the public safety update, we kind of moved on now to number 7,
Yes,
security
sorry,
operations.
yeah.
So just so everybody and those on the phone, we all have access and have had a chance to review the new security operations and emergency plan. That's what Gene was referring to, and kind of highlighted those. And obviously the big change is the addition of the firearm. So is there any specific questions, comments related to that document as it's presented? Everyone hopefully had a chance to review it. Everybody's good with it, or you need a minute?
No, it was supplied, this is Brian, it was supplied earlier, and thanks for pulling that together, because it was a number of pages to review ahead of time. No questions from me.
Okay, if everybody has the opportunity to review it, we would seek a motion.
I'm moving to make a motion to accept this.
Dennis made the motion to accept the security operations and emergency plan as presented. Is there a second?
Don will second.
Okay, Ellen beats to it, so Ellen seconded it. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, the same. No abstentions, so we're good there. So 100% support of the board. So thank you for that. I know it's a change, and like you said, this board is 100% committed to supporting you guys and your staff. And I can't iterate enough, and we'll get down into that as we go, but this isn't a employee issue. This isn't a director issue. This isn't a park president issue. This is a board issue, and we take ownership of that. And this board is 100% behind providing the tools that are needed to keep the staff, our members, and their guests safe here at Sandy Pines. So, you know, we can't say that enough. That comes from the board level with 100% commitment that we are going to do what's right to provide everybody the tools and the level of education and training they need to do your work to best provide for us. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, number 8, Resolution 031819, that kind of moves into the public Act 330 that Jeannie alluded to. Like you said, this board in the fall gave clear direction that we wanted to move forward with Public Act 330. This is separate, although related to the weapons issue. Public Act 330 is obviously a state statute, and it sets the criteria for the minimum level of education training for our staff to be able to do certain things within the parameters of the law. As Jeannie alluded to, this comes with the support of, will have to come with the support of the Allegan County Sheriff, the Allegan Prosecutor's Office, and is not something that's taken lightly. But again, it raises the bar of professionalism of our public safety department and staff. And this is just the resolution of the board to reaffirm what we already did in the fall, which said we want to move forward with this process. There will be couple public meetings for the input of the park members, so we can explain and educate the process and what it really means and where it's going. So with that said, everyone has the resolution in front of you. Does anybody have any questions or concerns, or feel that kind of how I summarize that is not what you see in front of you? I don't want to speak for anybody. We all good? Okay.
All good.
All right. I would look for a motion in support of resolution 031819.
So moved, Kelly.
Second, Ellen.
Been moved by Kelly, seconded by Dennis. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. And then, along that same vein, not to sound like a broken record, but thank you, Don, for the letter that you put in the footprints that kind of explained the position. Again, I know this is a very, I don't want to say controversial, but a hot topic. A lot of things have changed since August of 2016 as far as what we've experienced in the park. A lot of us were adamantly against certain employees being armed. It was a different time then. They were different employees then. There was different training then, and this has evolved. There's been several incidences in the park where we don't get all the details as it's confidential information. But again, the bottom line is, as a board, we feel that we need to support our members, and first and foremost, they have a right to be able to fulfill their job duties in protecting everyone on our property and still go home to their families at night and not be put in situations where we as board members or as staff or as members have expectations of them to carry out certain things that they can't do and is unreasonable. So that's what this was kind of, Don spelled that out on behalf of the board. And again, that was with 100% support of every member of the board. Like I said, a lot of things have changed, but I just want to make it very clear that if this board didn't feel that this was 100% the most appropriate thing to do for the staff, for the members and their guests of Sandy Pines, we wouldn't do it. So this, we feel, is the right thing to do, and that's why we're doing it. And without saying any more, we would like, Don, do you want to add anything to that? You were the author of the letter.
No, I just would support the comments that you made. I think things have changed a lot in the last couple of years, and just even based upon the report from Keith, I think the department has moved ahead a lot, and I think the training is excellent. So I feel very strongly that we're going in the right direction.
Thank you. Any other comments anybody would like to make?
Yes, Ellen.
Hold on. Ellen would like to talk.
I just want to say, again, I thank you guys because your level of professionalism has really helped us to promote all of this. And I've been a member of Sandy Pines for a long time, and even I didn't realize how limited you were in what you could do in response to people that were here committing crimes. So I think this is the right move at the right time, and, you know, I completely support what you guys are doing. It's good for everybody.
Thanks, Alan. Any other comments or concerns?
This is Jim. I just want to say that the professionalism of our public safety department now has changed a lot in the last few years. A lot of that is due to Keith and the people he's found and hired. And I think that is one of the things that makes all the difference in the world about going ahead with this.
Thank you, Jim. Any other comments? If there's none, we would like a resolution for support of the Board of Director letter that was in the March 2019 footprints.
So moved, Jim.
Moved by Jim, seconded by
Kelly?
Dennis. All in favor signify, yeah, you gotta get a little quicker.
Hey, I waited.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. All right, down to number 9. There was a subcommittee put together about guest entry. Don had asked Kelly Johnson, Ellen Carpenter, and Brian Elling to kind of gather some facts and work with staff to look at some of the questions and concerns that were raised last summer and fall about guest entry into the park. And they came up with a recommendation, which we'll address, but everyone has kind of their review in front of you. And I'll just, Kelly, you kind of headed that up. Do you want to take it from here?
Thank you. Yeah, as you said, it all started for us during our campaign this last year. And some of the concerns listening to the members were that particular issue, along with a couple others. And so we asked if we could start reviewing that because that was a great concern to them. And so the three of us and Steve and Keith, because of their expertise and the history that Steve has, started meeting and just breaking it down completely and throwing what ifs out and everything we tried. Because, you know, be honest with you, I have a vested interest in it, and so did Brian. We both have children that have significant others, and so we were kind of in our back of our mind saying, well, why can't this work? We should be able to come up with some type of language to make it work. And once we got in there and went through everything and listened to the history of how it happened, and every idea we threw out there was always, well, what about this and what about that, and how far can we stretch it? And it just seemed like everything we came up with, it just wasn't going to work. And then when Steve presented the history and we looked at that and said, you know, the history was, it was very limited when we first started. There wasn't very many people could come in because if we remember, the members are the people who purchased the lots. And then it did evolve. They did try different things, and it has expanded to do who can come in. But we have to kind of limit that. We come to the decision, you know what, we are maxed, and there are ways. And for me, you know, my son and the young lady he's with for 5 years, well, we haven't told them they can't get married. That's a decision they made. So with everything that we threw out there, it just kept coming back to, you know what, we've probably met we probably met our max, and the current rule works, and we couldn't find anything else that would make it any better. So that would be our recommendation, and I'll let Ellen and Brian if they want to expand on anything.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for your work. Ellen, do you want to?
Yeah, you know, Steve did a really good job of putting that history together, and, you know, sitting in that room and talking about it we realized there was no good way to define a significant other, a fiance, and if we said one of those, somebody else would come up with something else. But in the end, the member is responsible for the people that come in and their character and their actions. And the $4 that we charge for a guest vehicle to enter doesn't even cover the cost. And it shouldn't be a problem for people if they want somebody to come visit to accept responsibility and pay that $4.
And this is Brian. I would agree with what both, Kelly, thank you for orchestrating the team to have the conversation, and then Ellen to encapsulate it as well as you did. The concept of this and having it be for the members, I just think the timing of having this come out in the next footprints, the great job that Steve did in articulating, the past history, it just kind of gives everybody a quick little refresher as we start the next busy season on the importance of the members being responsible. And as you have associates and guests and signing in guests, Sandy Pines has made it incredibly easy. I can get a phone call from one of my kids, and with my phone, assuming my Sprint connection within the park, which is lacking at times, I can log in and sign the guest in right there. I don't even have to bother the main, public safety office to do so. So at the end of the day, we've made it very easy to add guests, and we should, message that we've got it set up as well as it probably could be. And a good reminder of the history, I think, is in order for all members, because we've got so many new members that don't know the history at this point. So I think having that link is a great suggestion that I don't know who had that, but thank you, Steve, for putting that together. Steve's not on the call, but at the end of the day, it was his compiling all that past history that really helped Kelly and Ellen and I to understand it a little bit more.
Thanks, Brian. And thank all three of you guys for spending the time and effort. I know that was an important topic, and we like to stick with facts and try to be fair and consistent in the enforcement of our rules. Keith alluded to earlier, but, enforcement is a form of education, and sometimes, people don't like that, but as long as it's fair and consistent, that's all we can do. So with that said, is there a motion to make a recommendation that be no changes to the rules which state that the associate membership cannot sign in guests?
So moved.
Ellen moved. Is there support?
Second. Ellen.
Second, Kelly. All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. Thank you. And now on to item number 10, conduct rules, section G, item 11. And Gene's going to bring us up to speed on this as well.
Okay, thank you, Rick. This is an addition to the conduct rules that are currently existing. We've run into, or I should say security has run into a few situations where there's been a terminated associate member that has been suspended from the park. I shouldn't say a terminated associate member. That doesn't sound very good. Their access to the park and their access to the amenities has been suspended and or terminated. And we find them back in the park, maybe with some of their friends. At this point, there's nothing specific that allows us any leverage to effectuate that membership for a breach of that kind. We don't have the ability at this point to hold for trespassing under PA 330. We would, but that hasn't happened yet. So this could be a short-term rule, but nonetheless it would be a rule that would allow us some leverage with those kind of situations. So if you've had a chance to read it, if you haven't, I'll read it. It would be added in section G would be item 11. It would say a member site which has had a person associated with that site access suspended or terminated shall be held responsible if the suspended or terminated person willfully enters park property while suspension or termination is still in effect. and that entry was without authorization of the park president or director of security services. Entry under these circumstances may result in fines of $250 and 10 points being assessed to the membership site. You'll notice that this amount is higher than any other fine that we have at this point, because these are the people typically that will cause or have the ability to cause more disruption in the park than any of our current members. The member site which is found to have a subsequent or second offense will incur penalties consisting of a 1-year membership suspension and $500 in fines. And B, a member site which is found to have a third offense will incur penalties consisting of an immediate request to the board of directors for permanent membership suspension.
Thank you, Gene.
Sure.
And I mean, it's obvious to us, but it's not like we don't just sit and come up with this stuff. This is all things we've learned, our staff learns through the inability to be able to enforce rules and identify gaps in our policies and procedures that keep them from being able to do their job. So that's what this is. Anybody have any questions or concerns?
I just have a question of clarity. So, say an associate member is suspended, but the member's fine. This is what I'm understanding. The member's fine. Well, this associate somehow gets in, unbeknownst to the member, maybe, hopefully. The member is the one that's fined because you can't really fine an associate?
That's correct. It would be, the ultimate responsibility goes to the member.
Right.
And that's the only one we have any leverage over.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in some cases, like you said, hopefully, it's unbeknownst, but in many cases, it is known.
Okay.
So, it's hard for a parent to justify not being able to control who comes into their site or not, especially when there's cards.
Mm-hmm.
So, this goes back to the membership.
Okay. So then, subsequently, if it keeps happening, the membership itself would be permanently suspended.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keith, you want to speak to that at all?
Sure. There's specific incidents which led to this, and with respect to the question that you asked, or the point that you kind of brought up, in some cases, the parent or the member is not aware of the conduct of the associate. In other cases, they are. The problem for us, and something that was talked pretty extensively about, was, and again, these are specific situations, where multiple incidents of thoroughly reprehensible behavior, criminal behavior, confrontational behavior with my staff. And in one of those, we were pretty confident that the member did not know, which leads to the next question of, well, at what point, although you may have some sympathy or empathy for this member who has this associate, 18, 19 years of age, that they clearly can't control. There's absolutely no control. There's cards being stolen. These people are bringing 4 or 5 other individuals into the park with controlled substances. So at what point do you get to, we can sympathize with you as a parent. However, all of the rights of the members in here are being violated by this type of conduct, and it needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we ran into two come right into my head immediately. And very serious misconduct, and just over and over. And wasn't a whole lot we could do, because we can't penalize the associate. We can't take him into custody. And that was the only thing that we seen that was reasonable or prudent, that at the end of the day, you as the member are still going to be accountable, even if you were not aware of the specific misconduct of your son, your daughter, or whatever the relationship is there.
Right.
Because that's what the other members deserve. They deserve to be safe, secure, and not have these types of people committing these types of acts in this park.
I have a question, Kelly.
Go ahead, Kelly.
One of my children gets suspended for a year. More than likely, I'm going to take away their association membership anyhow. So then they're no longer allowed in, period, even after a year. Now, they don't live with me, and there's readily available access to the park anytime they want. Am I still going to get fined if they go in and do something when I don't have them as an associate? And I'm just throwing that out as an example.
My suggestion, Kelly, would be that you no trespass your own associate member. And that you tell my staff, I do not want this person on my site. Not only do I not want him on my site, I will sign a no trespass form saying that I will appear in court and prosecute him if he shows up on my site. That leaves us certainly with no doubt as to what your intentions are, and it also would give us some recourse if the person does show up. Maybe. We get a lot of different responses on trespass charges out here, and I don't think that could be a really long discussion. But that would be what I would suggest to members, and that's something that we will suggest to people if it's a situation of, hey, these parents really are good folks, because we've had that. We've definitely had that. There's one set of parents comes to mind immediately, phenomenal people. Truly would be a great loss to the park if they weren't here. And yet again, you got to weigh that against, but look at the conduct. A felony, involved a weapon. So they're difficult. They really are difficult situations. And the rule doesn't say, to my knowledge.
And I appreciate that. And just what you said, that you will educate the members, because there's a lot of good members that sometimes, you know what, you just can't control the kids, and you don't know what they're doing when they're gone, unfortunately. But that is a big fine to occur. And if there's an option that will help protect the member as well, then I appreciate that offer.
And we'll be more than happy to discuss that with them. Yeah. But again, I also have to state that even with a no trespass letter, and even if the parents are working with you, I've seen situations that probably the only way to resolve it is to take the whole place away. I'm sorry, folks, you're good people, but you clearly can't control your child, young adult. And the only way that we're going to stop these people from coming back in here and bringing this type of behavior and materials and so forth in here is to, and that sounds hard, but we truly have a duty.
Yeah, Kelly, to answer your question simply, it's yes, the member's going to be responsible. Keith's suggestion is that and that only, and it's a suggestion. That's not, I don't look at that as our responsibility to tell a parent how to parent. So if you're looking for us to, or Keith, to come out and offer this information to the public, I'm not certain that that's something we're going to do. I guess I wouldn't be opposed to it, but at the same time, the parents that we're running into, in some cases, yes, they can be good parents, but they're not good parents. They don't have control. So, and they, again, are the only link we have to controlling what goes on in the park here. So I hope that answers your question. And yes, it may sound a little harsh, but at this point, we are stepping up the ability for anybody to come in here and do harm or create dangerous situations for our members and their guests and our staff.
And as a whole, hopefully this is a stopgap measure to give the staff the ability to do their job again, and hopefully as we move forward, as we strengthen other areas, whether it be Public Act 330 or look at other opportunities that we can make things different. This is at least something to get us Because right now, like you said, you have no ability, very limited to deal with the situation, and it's
This could be
what's good for the whole versus one or two. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Jim. My question is, if, kind of branching off of Kelly's, if one of your children was suspended, you take their associate card away and turn it in, and they're no longer an associate member, but they come into someone else's site, someone else brings them into their site, is the parent liable, or is the person whose site they're visiting liable?
And I appreciate that question because I'm dealing with this myself. And I have a 17-year-old who is not following rules. And so I asked Keith to terminate his associate membership and to remove his card. The problem that I have is my ex-wife has family here. And he will end up coming on the site without my approval. And I can't see that it's right to hold me responsible for that.
I agree. I would go back to the person who
Signed them in,
Right.
Yeah, because if you terminate their association, I mean, although maybe family, they're really not associated with your site, you've shut them off. I mean, you're not giving them the ability to come in.
Right.
Security
But in
cameras
your
would be
case,
able to
Ted,
verify that.
he's not in trouble with security at this point. The park didn't
Oh, no, not
suspend.
no.
So he would come in as a guest, not necessarily as an ex-associate.
Okay.
So he would be able to come in. We wouldn't go back to that member and say, well, this member doesn't want this guy in here. That really wouldn't hold any water. It would be only if there was reason that he was terminated or the associate membership was suspended on the part of the park.
Okay.
I guess my question would be, not that I expect a problem with him, but like if my one son was suspended, and we terminated his membership, and then his mother-in-law brought him in a car full of people through a gate other than the security gate, and he's visiting her site, he's still in the park illegally, I guess.
Well, I think that's what he was saying though, Jim, is he would be under the person that brought him in with them, not you. You terminated, so he wouldn't be under you, so it has nothing to do with you. It'd be the person that brought him in, whether signed him in or brought him into the park. They have a site, it would be them, not you. You terminated the association.
That's why I asked, because the original statement was whoever signed them in.
Right.
It would actually come back to whoever site they were visiting or staying at.
That's correct, associated with that site, not yours. You terminated your associate membership with them.
Okay, I
would just like to say, why does it always got to be my sons? There's lots of women that don't necessarily be.
I don't know of any.
Be less than scrupulous as far as.
I don't expect a problem with any of my four sons. My daughter would be the problem if I ever had one. So.
Thank you. So, any other questions or comments? I mean, we're not in a hurry. If you got something, say it. We want to flush it out. Now's the time to talk about it.
Yeah, this is Brian Elling. Just a real quick comment on this. I appreciate the fact that we're trying to give a little substance to a rule or lack of a rule that has some teeth in it that can hold anyone accountable. And again, kind of go back, I think Kelly may have mentioned it, or we talked about it earlier as well with the associates entering. The member is ultimately responsible. But at the same time, what I hear, Keith and Chris and the team saying is this allows us to have teeth in the rule as well as applying common sense to a particular member's site if need be. A wider picture can be painted, like in Chad's case, X is in the park. Thank goodness my ex is not in the park, but at the end of the day, have the ability to have a conversation around this versus hard, fast rule it's black and white, therefore this happens. I'm not saying we have a gray area here. I'm saying we allow the ability to still have common sense applied to the equation at the end of the day. Is that what I'm hearing you say, Keith? We have to have the protection of the members. I'll point to Keith on this, so we've got this, section 11, point A and B. At the same time, it's been built around where we've gotten burned in the past in the ability to effectively control bad behavior that was in the park. So this gives your team, on behalf of all members, the flexibility to have a little bit more teeth in the handbook, if you will, but at the same time apply common sense?
Yes, sir. Everything requires discretion, and all violations need to be, if they're issued, it needs to be done with discretion. And there are different circumstances for each situation. One other thing that I think is worth mentioning that I've had pretty extensive discussions with Gene on is our fines need to be realistic, and they need to be somewhat commensurate with the penalties that you would incur if you were to engage in the same type of behavior outside of this park. And you can also make a very valid point that a parent may have difficulty controlling their 18 or 19-year-old child. However, let's say that they were hypothetically provided about $800 worth of incentive to perhaps come up with some measures to better control their child. And that amount is a recent fine that was levied for violations. I would say if I'm that parent, I just found a whole bunch more incentive to find some ways to try and prevent my 18 or whatever year old offspring from coming in here and engaging in inappropriate behavior. So that's another part of this that I think is worth looking at. But to answer your question, all violations are going to be looked at with discretion. There are different circumstances for each one, and some cases they're difficult, and due to some of these circumstances, and there's not hasty decisions made. There's actually a lot of meetings and discussions as to what is the appropriate way to handle this given the circumstances.
There's also recourse.
I think that's excellent.
There's also recourse. If they get cited, they have the opportunity to appeal it then.
Correct.
Any further comments or discussion in reference to item number 10 on the agenda? If not, I would seek a motion to approve Rule Section G, Item 11, as amended.
So moved.
Ellen made the motion. Who supported it on the phone?
I would Don support it.
Okay, Don. Ellen and Don. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Gene, did you have another item that you wanted to add?
A couple of things there, as you've noticed around the table, and there's one on that table, there's a set of plans, which is the latest draft of the North Shore building plans, where the committee is meeting on this week, Thursday. It'll probably be the final review of plans, if there's any suggestions or revisions there. But if you want to take a chance to look at that plan where it is right now, please do so. The other thing I have is I had emailed Don on a date for the spring workshop. For the last 7 years, we've been having a workshop each spring with the finance and the board. And the last year it seemed to work out pretty good. We did it on the weekend of Memorial Weekend. We had a good turnout. That would be, this year would be Friday, May 24. If that works for you, what we do there is we have Bean Garter come in and they do the review, the accounting review that was recently completed. It's the 2018 review. Troy Allen comes in from Schwab and goes over our investment account. And this year, we would be inviting Marcy Palmer, who is with Champion Services, to come as well to introduce her to the board. She is the event planner for the 50th anniversary that we've contracted with, and you will probably have more opportunities to talk to her one-on-one and in a group situation. But those are the three people that we want to bring to the workshop in the spring. So I don't need an answer today, but May 24.
I was going to say, maybe everybody could just look at it and look at your schedules and get an idea and get back with us, let Gene know no later than this week whether there's going to be a conflict or if it looks okay, so he can get the people scheduled accordingly, because he's trying to coordinate other people's schedules as well. It's not just ours, so please don't wait. Will that work, Gene?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you, Rick.
Yep.
One last thing is you will all be getting one of these in a short period of time. This is the new golf cart registration program that you may have heard something about. This is fresh off the press. It includes the rule, but before we introduce it to the membership, we'll have you take a look at it and have a chance to review it and get back to us with any concerns. Dennis King's committee, Safety and Security, Rod Birch and Steve DeArmond have been responsible for putting this document together, and they've been working on it since midsummer last year. So it's a pretty extensive program. We're looking forward to getting that implemented. Great, thank you.
The next item, we do have one visitor guest. Would you like to make any comments, or do you have any questions for the board?
Yeah, I'm able to here.
Yeah.
Phil Edwards is the name, flat M12, and a few of you guys, I think everybody probably got it, but I sent out an email a month or so ago about the shoreline erosion. Concerns that we have about that, the boats around there, one, the waves that they're making, being too close to shore. Our shoreline right now, we're in the process of putting in a seawall. Pretty much the whole, we got 6-7 units where everybody's got to put a seawall up now because of the erosion is so bad. And across the lake from us, where the power lines are right at that point, the erosion is probably about 4 foot tall. Roots all over the place. My concern there is if a kid falls off that, looking over the edge, it breaks away like an avalanche, kid falls into the roots, gets stabbed, poked, you don't know what's going to happen. I know there's rules as far as no jet boats on the lake. I'm sure you guys do got the authority. There's one section under the boat rules, and that number 17, Sandy Pines reserves the rights to make changes to that. My opinion, and a lot of people I speak with on the shoreline, does not banning the boats. If you look at the size of our lake, and then you take out all the no wake areas and bring it in just to the wake areas, the size of this lake is way too small to have 3-4 foot waves come crashing in. We're asking the shoreline people, can we get a ban on just the waves being brought in? I know every boat's going to make a wave, but as far as the ballast boats, putting in those extra thousands of pounds of weight or water into the boat so it can make a 3-4 foot wave. The shoreline, again, this place was just awesome when we moved in 6 years ago. My neighbors, I got 2-3 neighbors that have been there for 20-30 years that have never seen this happen until 2 years ago. All of a sudden, the whole shoreline is just falling apart. It's not going to be just our area. Again, it's happening over there. It's happening in the green space down by the playground area. Same thing down there. It's a good 2 foot drop off right now. Eventually, that's just going to keep on eroding away too. So, our concern, again, safety for one, but then just the erosion itself is there a way that, how would I bring it up is to try to get something, to get a ban on the waves.
Well, I think first and foremost, if there's a true safety concern, please let our public safety department know so we can address that as staff, whether it be maintenance or through the office. I don't know how you want to handle that, but first and foremost, we definitely want to know about that so we can address that issue separate from the whole boat. I mean, there's been some discussion. It's pretty obvious to everybody. We had some discussion last year. Obviously, we need to have more, whether it be through a subcommittee of staff, board members, and members of the park to kind of look at it. I mean, I think we all agree that things are different. The size of the boat, it's not just the size, but the amount of boat traffic. I mean, the whole boat stake issue, there's a lot that needs to be addressed, and I think we need to actually do something, take some action and look at that and get the right people, you know, to be able to assess that and come up what's in the best interest of the whole park, not just a few people. So
Right.
I think collectively, I mean, I'll kind of throw that to Don, you know, to kind of, we can talk and we'll come up, you know, with Gene and figure out a way forward. We're gonna need a lot more input than just us, though. I mean, I'm no boat expert. I know, you know, there's a lot of DEQ issues and there's a lot of other stuff. So that's where I would start.
I've had other concerns by members, and unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, the issue is that it's opinions or emotions, that nothing's based on data. So to mitigate opinions based on what they see and not knowing, but trying to assume what they think happened, we went into contract with Restorative Lake Sciences out of Grand Haven, Spring Lake. They're going to come in and do an assessment of the watershed, of the beach area, of the fishery, of the water clarity, and of the plankton and zooplankton availability in the lake. We hope to have that by July. As Rick said, we can form a committee, but none of us are scientists. None of us know. And the other issue is that if you look back the last 5 or 6 years, we've had very high water levels, which is going to create some erosion, because the more when you get into August and you're only down about a foot, you're going to have wave action, like you said, and that's going to happen, and it's going to eat away at the shoreline. I was here at N17 from 1983 to 1993, and there was no wall anywhere along North Shore. Today, it's all wall up to where you guys are going to start. And once you have one wall, it just perpetuates on down, and that's what's happened all the way around the lake. So we are. Somebody's trying to get in the meeting. So we're gonna contract and see what data they can. I started out with Grand Valley University and the doctor that's in charge of their lake sciences, and he steered me toward 2 other people, one of which we already employ or contract with, which is PLM, Professional Lake Management. So I wanted to try something different. So we got together. I got together with Restorative Lake Sciences, and they have a pretty impressive group of people. So hopefully they will get back to us with some data, and then from those results they'll give us options for mitigation. And so hopefully that will all take place in July. So
right, no, and that's great information, because I mean, then you got the expert opinion. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I mean,
Right.
You know, I'm a sharp guy and I know everything, but this is, you know, that's a little out of my bailiwick, you know. But if we get the real data, and then again, I think it's important that we get a group of all the shareholders together, though. Again, it's not just one affected side of this, because the water is important to all of us. It's important to the viability of the park and everything. So, I mean, as a board, I know we take that very serious, and we had some discussions last year, and Gene is moving forward with getting more information. So hopefully that may not be the answer you wanted to hear, but it's where we're at today.
Right, but it's good because it is already being moved forward. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I would always suggest if you have a question or concern, I mean, you're more than welcome to call us, but you don't have to sit to wait for us. You can stop in the office or call and you know, and we can go from there.
I got one other little question kind of on that, because we get so many boats that I can literally throw water balloons at the people. I want to put buoys out into the water, and I know it's 100 foot from shore as far as how far out they got to stay. Where can I put the buoy in order to be in compliance. That'd be something for.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a staff issue that, that you can check with them in the office and then they can point you in the right direction. I'm not sure if it's maintenance or, who actually would be in charge of that. It's definitely not me, but I mean, we want to make sure you get your answers. So.
Right. For rule compliance, it would probably be you, would be Keith.
Okay.
But yeah, you guys
We're gonna do something with, on the point in phase 5, going where you come around that point and go toward Sailboat Cove. We're gonna place some buoys in there.
Yeah, that's another idea. Yeah. Perfect.
Great. Thank
Love
you.
the way the meeting was ran.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you very much. Okay, well, any board comments before we adjourn? Anybody would like to, anything for the good of the whole, would like to add anything or any comments?
Kimberly, did you want to go over the capital expenditures, or is that just for information?
It is just for information. I did email it out. I do have a copy if you'd like to see it, but if you wanted to see the current status of projects, there's been a lot of activity over the off-season. So, but we are maintaining budget and watching it closely. So overall, we don't have any concerns. We're kind of watching essentially as they go through. I did want to note that what I'm presenting is for the board and the finance committee is emailed just because to be sensitive to bidders and so forth. We bid on projects. We do have some repetitive projects from year to year, and we want to be respectful to those bidding compliance issues. So, but if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to let me know. But overall, as I said, we look at this closely as the year goes on, and we haven't noted anything that's really gone way over or unexpected. So everything's pretty much in line. So if you have any questions for your review, feel free to let me know.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Rick, I would only want to reiterate my gratitude for the support of the board. It's been a bumpy at times 7 years to get to where we are today with respect to security in the park. And I understand why it was, and now looking back, I can understand better why we went through some of the things we went through. And you're right, whoever spoke to it, that we are in a different place with a different group, with a different perspective, and we're moving forward, but I still am extremely appreciative of the support by the board for the security enhancements that we're going to have. Well, I mean, we've come a long ways since the board approved the roadmap plan that we had in 2017. We got a long ways to go yet, but we've come a long way. So appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. And hopefully, like I said, I don't want to beat this to death, but the board, we have very high expectations, but we also have a high level of support to be able to give you the tools and the training to meet those expectations. And I think together, collectively, we can all do a lot of great things. So
we take our responsibility very seriously.
Thank you. Anybody on the phone? Any comments for the good of the order?
I'm sure you will, but could the plans that Janie just handed out and Kimberly, could those be put on our boxes also?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll make sure everybody.
Nice seeing everybody again.
Yeah, you as well. You look better than last time I seen you. All right, hearing nothing else, thanks everybody, and this meeting is adjourned.